I might be editing this. We don't know.
Okay, that's whatever.
Because depending on if it's not too long, and I'm going to give it a swing with 3 cameras. But mostly for coverage.
You mean a multicam? Ah!
Studio laughter! God, this is going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess several ways over because we're also recording for the first time after a month.
We haven't recorded.
And then this is out of nowhere.
And they really sprung this on us after not even 20 years.
Well, that's part of your issue is how arbitrary it is. Okay. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
This is So I'm Watching the Show, your twice weekly pop culture podcast, where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. As always, this is a spoiler show. We're going to talk about Friends.
No one told you life was gonna be this way. Your job's a joke, you broke. Your love life's the away.
Oh boy. On today's episode, we are going to have a conversation in 2 parts about the 1990s staple.
Yeah.
The 95 to 04, or I guess 94 to 04. 4?
Oh, yeah, 4. You're right. Yeah.
Staple Friends.
Yeah.
So, well, to kick things off, I wanted to show you something
That I already saw.
that I was very proud of because I thought I literally was in the bathroom like, it's so good. It's been hidden in plain sight. And I walk in and she's like, oh, did you get the Friends Legos? They're right there.
Right there. You didn't hide them at all.
I could move like one thing in here and you'd notice.
Oh, my goodness.
I genuinely thought I was going to surprise you with this.
Well, I was going to get it for you, so I'm glad I know now.
Oh. I mean, if you just want to give me like $150.
No, I'll obviously get you something else.
So I did cheat and
You did
open
some of
it,
yeah.
as I want to do. It has so many Easter eggs.
Yeah.
So many Easter eggs.
I looked at all of the pictures.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
bummed.
because it's the Phoebe dollhouse and the turkey and the cheesecake on the ground outside and poking ugly naked guy. Yeah. And there's even cameras. Like it's a set. I love it.
It even has Monica's ugly closet.
Ooh.
You can put like crap in it.
Nice.
And my favorite is Janice.
Where's Janice? Oh, she's just there. Oh my God. No, that's amazing. I did not notice Janice when I was looking at it.
So, before we get to the reunion, I just wanted to have a short little conversation about the show Friends.
Okay.
What does the show Friends mean to you?
Being allowed to watch TV with my parents on Thursday. Because, it was like, it started when I was like 8. The show started when I was 8. So I felt really special from the ages of like 8 to 15 when I was like allowed to watch Thursday night must-see TV on NBC with my parents.
It was a big deal. If any of you are watching us and weren't there, it was very, and especially for our ages, for the 10, 11, 12, it felt very grown up and it felt very, well, like I said, everybody did. I mean, that Friends was getting like Super Bowl numbers.
Yeah, oh yeah,
like that was the peak of like the old ways.
Yeah.
For me, what Friends means to me was it was my first like adult favorite show.
Sure.
Prior to that, it would have been Hercules and Xena and then like Rugrats, cartoons, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Friends was the
I don't know.
first...
I watched Arthur well into my teen years.
I didn't say I didn't say that it was
that it took over for one.
But we weren't allowed to watch it. It was extremely popular pretty quickly, as I recall.
Yeah, almost immediately.
They like took off and it had a reputation for being sexy. And they did the photo shoot for season 2.
Not with those clothes.
Well, they did the photo shoot. Some of them.
Some of them.
I
don't know. Monica wears a lot of pleated pants early on.
They did the photo shoot for season 2 where they were in bed together, naked.
Yeah.
Or, well, at least Rachel was. I think the rest of them were.
Yes, only Rachel is nude under the covers. Everyone else is wearing clothes.
I remember my grandmother telling my mom that it was too mature. Make sure that they don't watch that. And one of the things was that she was explaining to my mom why it was inappropriate. One of the things is that one of the characters was gay.
Oh.
we assume she meant Chandler because it becomes a plot on the show. But I do remember the first episode I watched, and it was a rerun, and it was when Phoebe was arguing with Ross about always trying to be right about like evolution and gravity.
I don't know. Lately, I get the feeling that I'm not so much being pulled down as I am being pushed.
And it was also a huge, huge one because it was at its like zenith when TV on DVD became a thing.
Yep.
I remember the Christmas before they had even released season 1. It was like a best of Friends 2 DVD compilation. And I got it as like a Santa gift because Andrew and I would always like go downstairs early, like at like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. to see like what our Santa presents were. And they were never wrapped.
Oh.
And so we like, that was one of them. And we like put it on the DVD and it's one of the happiest I've ever been in my entire life.
That's good. That's a good one.
Christmas Eve with my brother watching Friends, and
sounds great.
Well, just the notion that I could just watch it, whenever I wanted, mind blowing.
Yeah.
And then I actually can remember when the DVD sets came out because one of our old friends, Gabby, if you're watching, hi Gabby, because she also. That's the Friends Lego set. Yeah, she posted a picture with it, and I was like, I'll be there for you. But I remember she only had a half day senior year of school, and I didn't like school. So it was a Tuesday, and she was leaving, and I saw her in the hall after like third period or fourth period. I was like, hey, do you mind if I leave with you? And she was like, okay, sure. And I was like, do you want to take me to Best Buy? And so she took me to Best Buy to buy season 3 of Friends. And I like just waltzed home with it. And my mom was so mad. And then I laid on the couch and watched season 3 of Friends.
Hey, season 3 is a good one.
So my favorite is 6.
6 is good too. I mean, they're all good.
They're different.
Yeah.
It really the
season 1 is such a different animal than season 10. It's like it's so crazy. Like season 1 is sort of trying to be like a half-hour comedy version of 30-something.
It's so restrained and very and it's definitely way more 90s.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really interesting to watch as a kid, like watch how the characters grew. They sort of, become cartoon versions of themselves, which is fine. I mean, there's pros and cons to all types of storytelling, but it was huge for me because it was what I would put on to go to bed for like a block, probably 10 years of my life. I was going to
say easily 10 years, yeah.
I put on, if anybody spent the night at my house, Friends was on. I just cycled through again and again and again. And then I finally burnt it out around like 2007, 2008. I just really
we haven't even really put the Thanksgiving episodes on for Thanksgiving in the last few years either.
Well, because that's another thing we would watch all of the Thanksgiving episodes every Thanksgiving, and there was just something about you run it into the ground, you tire things out, and some of its cracks started to show. Some of the
it doesn't age amazingly.
Well, I think a lot of it in and of itself is harmless. I think it's the overarching messages, like any individual Fat Monica thing, I think is kind of funny. Sure. And I think like the gusto with which Courtney Cox went for it.
Yeah.
It was a good, broad comedy performance for its time. But the messages that you were left with it and the consistency with which these jokes were giving you certain messages.
Sure.
It's just not
It's even something that came out way, way later, but is still even now just a couple years too old, is like New Girl with Fat Schmidt. It's similar, where it's just like the implication that he couldn't live a fulfilling, sexually satisfied life until he lost the weight is problematic.
Because the thing is, it's Fat Monica's one thing and neurotic Monica is one thing, but the way in which the show would connect dots was, and it also would teeter into the thing that you hate so much with Family Guy, where it's isn't it so funny how much we hate Meg, but it's okay because Mila Kunis is hot. And so it's the part of the joke is the fact that it's isn't it crazy that this hot girl is doing this?
Yeah.
Sure. And it just but again, like I said, I mean, in all honesty, as a heavy person, any individual thing, I actually think is kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's just sort of the way in which it's all reaped upon us. And
and it's a type of thing also where it's like, we never see her do anything about it. She just is skinny now. It's like, it doesn't feel like it's like an ongoing struggle. She
makes comments.
She's just better.
No, ever since
weird part.
Ever since they like initiated it, she makes comments about how like there was something about like a date, and she was like, I want to do this for fat Monica. And she was like, I never let her eat anymore. Like, I want to like give her this. And frankly, I mean, even in the one where it's like the one that could have been, she's fat and like a pathetic 30-year-old virgin, but her and Chandler still get together in that one. So, I mean, and also, I mean, like I said, it would have been one thing to have Monica be fat and no longer fat, but it's another thing how they do it. Because all of them, they make, probably with the exception of Phoebe, all the rest of them, they make them the butt of jokes and flashbacks. Like Rachel has the nose. Ross has his whole thing.
Specifically the Jerry curl, though, is like a lot to work with. Chandler has the flock of seagulls hair.
And it's the kind of thing that, I mean, we very much believe that context is important with some of this stuff. But I think the fragile masculinity it was rough then. It's even rougher now.
I remember the first time I saw the episode where Ben has a Barbie, and I was like, Ross, you're being stupid.
So part of my journey with like recently coming back around on Friends is partially inspired by the fact that I knew for a year that this reunion was coming, but it got very, very, very popular with Gen Zers in quarantine and the streaming and all of that, and there is a wealth of a catalog. And so I did watch a couple of videos, and I did sort of reevaluate a few things, and it really does give with one hand and take with the other, because in that precise,
just like God,
in that precise episode with Ross and the Barbie with Ben, I mean, we have this like committed, successful lesbian couple in Carol and Susan, and they are sort of, everyone else is advocating for Ben with this doll, and the Carol and Susan, I mean, that was a big deal.
That was a really big deal.
And largely the fact that they were treated with respect. I mean, the Ross and Susan, do you think they weren't?
It's not that I don't think they were treated with respect, but it's their whole deal was always framed in how does it impact Ross way.
But I think that the relationship had dignity.
Sure.
Like, I mean, the episode where Ross and Susan are locked in the closet.
That's a good one.
There's Mother's Day, there's Father's Day, there's no Lesbian Lover Day.
Yeah.
Every day is Lesbian Lover Day.
She's good.
What was her name?
I never remember, but I like her a lot.
She's popped up in a couple things.
Much stuff. Yeah.
I always liked both Carol and Susan, but Susan, the fact that she ended up getting as much like as she did, really kind of surprised and impresses me. And then back to kind of like what I liked about the show. The show was, especially for its time, it was progressive in its way. Especially very sex progressive. The way it depicted sex and sexuality for the women, with the women, amongst the women.
Specifically with the women, because it's episode 1 where Monica has sex on the first date. And I always was like, oh, that's like a...
Well, I didn't think anything of it at the time.
No, well, I was too young, really. But it was like, but knowing that is like right out of the gate, they're like, Monica has sex with the wine guy, Paul the wine guy, right, on the first date. And I'm just like, get it, Monica.
She's a modern woman. Yeah. She's a single modern woman. The network was nervous. I mean, they really tried everything they could to rewrite that, and they didn't win.
No,
one of the things that I do think, you know, some of the storytelling, some of the there's a weird toxicity to a lot of it when you're taking it at face value. And I think it was, again, very indicative of the 90s and all that. In spite of all of its flaws, and they are there, it is still, its vibrant heart, and I would say even less than heart and spirit, still shines through. And I think so much of that, if not frankly all of it, is the sheer animal talent and chemistry of the cast.
100%. Because I mean, there's so many jokes in the show that if it were anybody less talented, they would not hold up the way they do.
Well, because I was going to say, I mean, they are medium. It's 90s sitcom jokes. It is middle of the line jokes. But
I mean, not all of them, but the majority.
No, but the speed and flair with which the cast goes at it, and the way that so many of the catchphrases aren't just like they're not the phrase, it's the inflection.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know. No.
Oh no.
I know.
Yeah.
There's just so many things that, and again, especially the girls. Like I genuinely think the three girls were operating a level above.
I think, too, it was probably one of the first shows I ever watched where they were friends independent of the men. They hung out alone together.
Well, that's probably rooted in the fact that the way the show was initially conceived, Monica was the lead.
Yeah.
And
when they have the episode where they get George Stephanopoulos' pizza, that episode's amazing. That episode's really good. And it's because the three of them are just like drinking margaritas and having a sleepover.
Or even the three of them in the wedding dresses.
Also, yes.
That was one of the funniest episodes of TV I had ever seen funny. When that episode came on. Rachel answering the door with
Tate Donovan, right?
Yeah. Joshua. And she opens the door. I do. And just the way she closes the door.
Yeah, well, that ought to do it.
It was so yes, absolutely. Well, all three of them. I was about to say Jennifer Aniston was doing some magic, but back to my initial point is I am a justice for both Monica and Courtney Cox.
Yeah.
I think Courtney Cox is the unsung hero of Friends. Monica is my favorite. I will fight you on that. I just think, and it's not, I guess where I get the underappreciated or unsung is that both Lisa Kudrow and Jennifer Aniston came out of it with Emmys. And
Jennifer Aniston won?
Mm-hmm. Remember when it turned into the Rachel show? Yeah. When her star was like at its like zenith? She
did a lot of really mediocre rom-coms.
She did.
Really, no.
Because it all fell back on Friends. I mean, the best thing that came out of Rockstar is this season 6 of Friends where Rachel's hair was...
We should come back from the break with me with just extensions. Let's just run to Sally Beauty real quick.
I'll get the Rachel. Yeah. But yeah, but no, I genuinely think that the material and that what Courtney Cox did with that role, because Monica's a pain. I think that's one of the reasons.
She's a pill.
But there's a take. We'll link to it. There's the take essay about why Monica is the best friend.
Yeah.
And truth and nothing but the truth.
3 types of potatoes. Come on.
And I think that there's a lot to say for overall, like, the thesis of the show is, because the thesis of the show, it's very modern. It's very found family.
I'll be there for you.
And real family. And
but it's like such a third-rate footnote that Monica and Ross are brother and sister. It's like, it means nothing.
No, I disagree. I like their dynamic, although I can't remember. Is it Rachel? I think I can't. It has to be Rachel. I literally just had a conversation with someone where they were like, I can't with how Monica's like always clinging on Ross.
Oh, they do have like a very physical sibling relationship.
But no, I love the notion of going through, because we just, went through it ourselves. That we just went through this period of time in our lives. And weirdly, I do think the show is about growing up, maturing, figuring out who you are, what you want. And it does eventually. I mean, we watch these people be, kind of weird, horrible, toxic people over and over and over again until they figure their shit out and find, their person.
Yeah. I get it.
Their lobster, if you will.
Oh.
No, there is so much more to say about it, and I'm sure we'll get into some of it. I'm excited for this reunion. I think aren't there weirdly like a lot of celebrities involved?
Yeah, James Corden is hosting. Lady Gaga is there. I think there's some other ones, but I don't know. I'm gonna watch it. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's not what I wanted.
This is weird energy you're bringing.
I thought they would do an episode, like check back in on the characters.
So I always thought they should have done a series of hour-long Thanksgiving episodes.
Sure. Just like 4 Thanksgivings or something. So it's not what I wanted it to be. It's not what I expected it to be. It's coming out in totally insignificant year. It's not 30 years from the premiere, and it's not 20 years from the ending. So what the fuck are we doing? I'm just like...
We're selling HBO Max subscriptions?
Ugh. I'm already subscribed.
With very expensive IP.
Yeah, very expensive IP.
On that note...
Oh my God.
Here we go.
Where's the tissue box?
The cast of Friends.
When I watch the episodes, I'm laughing out loud because you all make me laugh so hard.
I know you know how big the show is. What you have given so many people is an experience of huge comfort.
Oh my God!
We felt like we had these friends.
I love you guys so much.
You want to have your feelings?
I want that for me.
A feel in your feelings?
It was nice.
It was way more good than I thought it was going to be.
It was as good as I thought it was going to be.
No, I really, especially at the very beginning when they like all walked in separate and it was very staged and I was like, oh God, I was like, this is going to be like 2 hours of like really cringy, kind of bizarre shit. And it actually ended up being just fabulous. I had a really good time.
I think I'm glad it was 2 hours. I honestly could have used about 15 more minutes. I missed a few people. I was just reading as we were sitting down that it wasn't from a lack of interest or invites, that it was the time constraints and COVID restrictions combined, because they threw this together in the last month.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because remember, this was supposed to be last year.
Well, and justice for Mona and Charlie. Charlie, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted Aisha Tyler there, the Sprouse kids. I wanted
they're like hard in Vancouver. One of them is definitely in Vancouver.
Well, and apparently the Paul Rudd was wanted to be there, but just couldn't. But
don't worry, we got Cara Delevingne
and Justin Bieber. Cara Delevingne, check. She would have been on the show.
Sure.
I mean, I can't. I'm not going there, but no, like it was like, given that it wasn't a scripted, because I didn't necessarily think a revival's what we wanted. But I did sort of want to revisit the characters.
Sure. And that's the thing where, like, at the very end, that's something that Lisa Kudrow said, is which I like, in the moment, I was like, no, that makes sense. But thinking about it more, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense at all. You don't have to ruin their happy endings in order to make a new episode. Just let them still be happy and hanging out together.
I mean, the formula of that kind of situation comedy is like,
there has to be a thing.
Yeah, to overcome. But it, of course, could be done. Anytime that someone says it can't, I'm like, that's lazy.
Yeah,
but
that's not right.
If anything, now I think it's just that I think they're too old and time has kind of passed. But
I could agree with that.
It was this really perfect combination of like interview, but also documentary, but also like clip show, but also bonus features. Like, I was taking notes and I started to ask you, there's a couple things I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like them doing the line readings. At first I was like, this is kind of odd.
Yeah, they were doing table reads again, which like, it's not that it was terrible, but it's also like, I wish it had leaned more to the documentary bonus features, half of it. Like, I wish they'd interviewed more people. I wish they had like done more like bloopers and stuff. Like,
well, the table reads were interesting because they made a big point about how so much of them have not watched the show, which is fairly common for actors and actors specifically to not watch their own work. But the people who are the fans, it's like blasphemous to us to think that they wouldn't know some of these things. And
it's really similar for something I love, like Buffy, where it's like, those actors don't remember. They don't remember the things that like resonated so hard with me. I would say that if I were ever to meet them, I would say that and they would be like, okay. Cool.
Well, and they would probably know it, especially like the convention circuit would know it now. But it was interesting to see them do the 2 or 3, well, it was 3 or 4 actually table reads, knowing that they don't watch the show because they were pretty consistently recreating the.
Well, because they were filtering the like actual show
clips.
Dialogue over top of them. It was pretty good.
I wonder if I would have enjoyed just more watching them watch the show.
Sure.
Or like, because I started this sort of conversation, this sort of episode on a little bit of a negative bent because that's the lens I had been viewing Friends. And also there's been a lot of think pieces.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And so it just sort of becomes, you're like, well, Ross is problematic and like blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you forget that this has washed over you and there's still a residue. And so this was really, really freeing and full circle for me to go back and watch this and to see Jennifer Aniston and David Schwimmer talking about Ross and Rachel.
Yeah.
And to get that window into their lives playing Ross and Rachel at that time.
And also the fact that they kind of loved each other in real life at the time.
Which...
What the fuck?
But I'm like, that's why it worked.
100%.
Because there's an entire Friends episode about the chemistry.
Yeah.
If the chemistry in the play is good, it's because they want to.
Yeah.
And once they do, the chemistry's gone. And I thought, oh my God, that's where the Ross and Rachel stuff is. That's where that came from. And it's like, I'm so used to it now as a whole that going back and watching that scene, the Ross and Rachel kiss, because that's like that's a drama scene.
Oh, yeah.
In this, like,
and Jennifer Aniston had the nerve to be like, well, we are not good actors. And I was like, I beg your pardon. You're excellent actors.
It was very good, both of them. Yeah. And it was just like, and it was so, there was so much like energy in it. And it really was like this like window into the 90s.
Oh my God, yeah.
Especially the behind the scenes stuff. I was like, as a 35-year-old now, I was relating to them on a level where I was like, oh, could you imagine being 35 in the 90s? Like,
they were in their early 20s mostly when it started.
Mid to late, but
they were babies. Babies. They all had their original faces.
Those pictures of LeBlanc.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Holy moly.
Holy moly, a lot.
I don't like talking about appearances that way. What I will say is I think Lisa Kudrow looked the best.
Lisa Kudrow looks her age.
She looked
it's nice.
Natural.
Yeah.
I maybe because I've seen her more consistent. Well, I've seen all the girls consistently, so I don't know. I thought she looked the most like Lisa Kudrow.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think Matt LeBlanc and David Schwimmer looked a lot like themselves too.
Matt LeBlanc was in full grandpa territory.
Oh my God. He just, everything he did, I was like, that is my grandpa telling a story at a restaurant every single time.
I love what piece of shit he is.
Yeah.
That he's just such like a dirtbag kind of like.
But again, himbo. I think
the
importance of Joey.
I'm using very harsh language there, but he's a little bit of a good for nothing.
Sure, but I mean, in a cute way.
But yeah, James Corden was there.
Yeah.
I don't have any issue with James Corden, and my non-issue with him is going to start turning into an issue because I don't know why. Like, I don't know
why people are mad about him
or why is he hosting this? Why was James Corden hosting this?
That's the thing for me because I don't have a huge James Corden issue either, but now I'm getting to the point where I do because I keep seeing all these people like, why is James Corden doing this? And I'm like, yeah, why is James Corden doing this? It's weird.
He wasn't particularly good or bad, but it's just sort of like it's very insisted upon us in a strange way.
Yeah, it's a little bizarre. For me, it's definitely a little bizarre where I'm just like, I don't. Why it insists upon itself.
Yeah. Well, because I was trying to think to mention it again, I'm like, why isn't Aisha Tyler hosting this?
Oh my God, she hosts everything.
She's like a professional after show host.
For
why would she not be doing this?
Yeah, no, that's fair. She also hosts like every panel at Comic-Con.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
I'm like,
no, you're right. You're 100% right.
She was a talk show host for 6 years.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I don't get it either.
And you can't tell me she was busy because she stays busy.
Yeah.
She's got like 9 jobs.
Yeah. She could easily have done this for like a week. It would have been fine.
The cameos were fun. Again, I could have used a few more. And even if they couldn't have been there, it was like we had Reese Witherspoon and we were like, come on, Christina Applegate.
Yeah, what the hell? Come on. But Maggie Wheeler was fun. And then
she was great. I loved that she got like a moment too.
She did, yeah. And then Gunther, what's his name? Michael something.
To that effect. And then Christina Pickles and Elliot Gould.
They were in the audience.
But I thought a lot of them worked.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga sings Smelly Cat with Lisa Kudrow with Phoebe, and it was the elephant in the room. And you were like, I wonder how much mustard she's gonna put on this.
Not that much.
Not too much.
No, reasonable amount.
It was within reason. I
wasn't mad at it.
She looked great. She was doing her best Phoebe. Her little back and forth with Lisa Kudrow. Lisa Kudrow's so weird. She's so interesting and so funny, and the laugh and everything. But
they had a nice little moment though, because Lady Gaga was like, it was so nice for you to
being weird.
Be the weird one, the one for the out there kids kind of, and Lisa Kudrow was like, thanks for carrying that along. And I was like, nice. It was cute.
I did love the bloopers. A lot of those bloopers were stuff that's on the DVDs and I have seen, but there was footage I had not seen.
Me too.
I could watch entire recuts of the episodes.
Sure.
Like the raw footage with them calling cut and stuff. It's fascinating.
I never knew that Matt LeBlanc dislocated his shoulder.
The scene where he dislocates his shoulder.
Yeah.
Because I still am not sure how he did it, because it's not the shoulder he landed on.
I think it hit the back of the chair in a way that made it go like this.
Oh, okay. It's really weird. And
David Schwimmer looks like someone died.
He does, yeah.
He's like, cut.
Because everybody's like,
oh no. And I think they all shocked at something. I think you can hear him like cry or like screech off screen.
But because they focused on 2 of the favorite episodes that you hear from a lot of people, the one where no one's ready, and then my personal favorite, the one where everyone finds out.
That's a really good one.
And that was a lot of fun to really explore that. And just even the interviews with Marta and David and like the creators and behind the scenes stuff about how they like had no plans to take Monica and Chandler in
like all the way
in a direction.
Yeah. And they just were like, wouldn't it be funny if they slept together in London? And then
it was awkward for a little while.
And then everybody like shit the bed about it. And then they were like, okay, well, what if they just keep secretly doing it? And then everybody continued to shit the bed about it. And they were like, all right, we'll get married then.
Well, and I had forgotten how successful the show was. Because again, at the time, not only was I not watching it, but I was a child. So everything is like blown out of proportion. But when they were on the cover of Rolling Stone, and a particularly good cover.
But in the car in the 50s.
In like old timey, But how famous they all got and how quickly was very interesting. But no, we did have people on there. There was
Tom
Selleck, and
he was just there for the paycheck. I think he was really Tom Selleck was phoning it in a little.
But I could have done even more. I could have done more, honestly. Yeah. I could have watched another hour because I could have watched them keep playing that game. I could have watched more bloopers, more behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, there were just still like they all only did 1 card from each category in the trivia game, and I was like, more.
Well, the writers didn't
I know
write more.
Shut up.
But the set looked great. I a little bit am dying to see what the apartments would look like now. Like keep the aesthetic
nicer.
or well, yeah, but I mean it's like keep them identifiably the boys in the girls' apartment, but make them modern.
Modern, yeah.
I would have really loved to see something like that. They did this very bizarre. It was cool, but it was a very bizarre fashion show.
Oh yeah.
Of memorable costumes from the show.
That's where we got Cara Delevingne.
With celebrities modeling it. With no connection to the show. But then on top of that, it was 4?
Yeah.
It was Cara Delevingne twice.
Cara Delevingne twice.
Cindy Crawford.
Oh yeah, Cindy Crawford. But Justin Bieber and then Matt LeBlanc in all of Chandler's clothes.
Yeah, and I kind of expected a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's just also that bridesmaid's dress is a outfit that is worn on the show. I wouldn't say it was an iconic look from the show. Like
we wanted an actual.
Like, I'm sorry, Cara Delevingne can't be wearing that sheer sweater thing that Jennifer Aniston wears when they watch the video.
You wanted the actual fashion.
Come on,
which is a thing because they were manufacturing the clothing for them.
Yeah.
They weren't buying it off the rack.
I remember.
Like it was this thing.
Sometimes they did because
some of it.
Courtney Cox has a shirt that more than one sister on Charmed also wore, and Buffy wore it too.
But it also might have just been in the closet.
Sure, yeah.
But no, I mean, I feel silly that like my take is like, oh my God, this is amazing. They gave us more than I expected, and yet I wanted more.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
But no, to be honest, like I said, it was really lovely. It was actually very sweet and very sentimental, and it hit home in a way that I wasn't expecting it. I mean, in hindsight, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, a huge part of my coming of age was centered around this show.
Yeah.
But I do.
I mean, this show ended when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a huge swath of time.
It definitely feels like it does feel like closure. It doesn't feel like something like this was reopened. Well, I mean, again, like when Will and Grace did that little commercial reunion back in like 2016,
yep.
and that ended up sparking 3 more years of the show. Like,
yeah,
this doesn't feel like that.
No, definitely
not. I mean, I would love more, but I don't think we're going to get it.
No, and I mean, none of them really have ever felt like they wanted to go back. So much so that like, I just can't believe it. Just feels unbelievable that they have not all been in a room together since the rap night. That seems crazy.
The only way for me...
For 18 years, they haven't been in all 6 in a room together.
The only thing for me is the fact that they are all wealthy. That seems like it would afford means.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, because I mean, it's like we've never been in a room again with like people from high school and college, and they've all seen each other. They've just never all 6 of them been together.
We also didn't go through a like public gauntlet together, you know? It's just, I don't know. If I were them, it would be like, it's time for the annual Friends vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, it's bizarre.
But, well, and like I mentioned, I mean, the girls had worked together because all of them had been on Cougar Town.
Yeah. Well, and Courtney Cox and Jennifer Aniston have always been really close. So I feel like they hang out a decent amount. But yeah, I don't know. It felt weird that they were like not making time for that. It's not like you can't afford to get a plane ticket.
I can weirdly buy it. I mean, people are weird sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like, if there's, because I never got the sense that there was like wounds.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when you do go through something like that with people for 10 years, I mean...
Sure. Well, I think the biggest thing that made that an issue for me is that then it's not even that I don't believe them, but every time that they were like, I mean, we just love each other. It's like nothing but... And I was like, that rings a little false if you haven't made time to see each other. Like, there has to be 2 of them that haven't seen each other in 20 years. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's bizarre to me.
I loved it.
Me too.
I might revisit some of it. I sincerely doubt I'll start at the beginning and watch the whole thing.
I might.
But definitely some of this, like I said, the season 6. I just remember there being a lot of really solid episodes in season 6.
Yeah.
And it's they were all fully their characters, but before they had turned into parodies of themselves. And it's where Phoebe and Rachel live together.
That is really good.
Unagi and Bruce Willis and Alexandra Holden. And
what is he? Ahura. Because he's doing this, right?
Yeah, I don't even remember, though. It was because he's older.
Because then Schwimmer does it, too. And he's like... No, it's so good. I love it.
Maybe I'm watching season 6 tonight.
Woo!
So, all right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that trip down memory lane. And
if you have HBO Max and you had any affinity for Friends, definitely watch it. It's worth it.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think that's it for us for now. We will be back soon. The next week. We'll be back soon. June
1st.
With Cruella de Vil.
Yeah. Okay, as always, you can follow us on Twitter at So I'm Watching or Instagram at So I'm Watching This Show. We also have a website, soimwatching.com, which links out to everything, including what?
I was making unbroken eye contact. I'm so sorry. Continue.
If you want more of that, follow our website link to the Patreon, and you can throw us a couple bucks, and we'll make you more content. And then, other than that, you can rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And that's it for us.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.